Welcome to Father's House. My name is Dante. I'm the operations pastor here. And over the next few weeks, we'll be meeting in this format, so thank you for joining our online community. We are a church here that likes to fully experience and express the love of God. You're about to hear teaching from our lead pastor, John Coates.
Welcome and thank you so much for joining us online. We know that being an online community is different than our typical Sunday morning gatherings, but in accordance with our government's statements, we will be doing this through at least April 23rd. And so we hope that you'll just continue to join us here through our online community. But as we're just thinking about not being normal Sunday gathering, there's a whole lot of things that aren't normal right now. You know, normal has become to be a very relative word. Things seem to change every day. One day you're driving to work, getting ready to go to the office. The next day you're trying to turn your kitchen table into a home office and trying to avoid the distractions of your kids. One day you're thinking about your kids going back to school. The next day you are planning on them being home for the remainder of the school year. Maybe you started and you were on campus taking classes, and now you've shifted to being an online student, something that you're not used to because things just aren't normal right now. And the thing that's crazy about it is normal means it's been planned, right? And it's predictable. Usually we know we're going to go to work at 8, get off maybe at 5. Maybe we're picking the kids up. We're going to eat at a certain time. But right now we don't have those predictabilities, and we didn't even pick this change. But I think the hardest thing about this is that very statement is we didn't choose this change. And so it plays heavy on our soul and as we think about this new normal. One of the things that could be challenging to us on that is our soul that has looked for some of our normal routines for comfort and even for peace of mind. When we understand what's coming up next week, on our schedule, but now all of that's been changed and we didn't vote on it, we didn't choose it, but it kind of was thrown upon us. Man, that can have a real heavy weight on your soul. And could say it like this, man, it can be hard to find stability with a forced new normal. It can be really hard. It can be hard on us. And personally, I feel like it's kind of like when you are walking on a sidewalk only to find out that ice has covered it. As you step out on that sidewalk, you begin to slip. Trying to find your balance, you take another step and you're slipping again. And that's what it almost feels like, is every time you almost have your foot on a firm ground, something is changing. One day you get news that this is going to happen, only to find out that later that day it's changing. You almost feel yourself slipping and sliding, trying to find stability, trying to find a firm footing. And takes away our confidence. We have not the confidence that we can just stay. And so what do you do when that happens? What do you do when things are changing and you don't know if they're going to stay? And you don't have a peace of mind and you're wondering what details are going to change and what's going to happen. This was what's going on with the disciples upon Jesus being arrested in the garden. You know, they had a normal life. For 3 years. They followed Jesus. They did what Jesus said. Jesus saved them from storms and from other things. Jesus' words put to rest the ideas of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. They had a normal, but upon Jesus' arrest in the garden, their normal was forever gone, and it would be forever gone from that day forward. But Jesus didn't leave them like this. He had actually predicted that this would happen. And he tried to set them up and give them something that they could have a firm footing on. And so in John 16, 32 through 33, we read, Jesus is saying this to his disciples, "Behold, the hour is coming, and indeed has come, when you will be scattered, each to his own home, and will leave me all alone. Yet I am not alone, for the Father is with me. I have said these things to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world." Jesus didn't really tell them, though, the details of how they would be scattered, when they would be scattered, what being scattered would actually look like. Jesus left all of this out, and how could he? Because isn't the details, isn't that how we get a peace of mind? We know when we go to work, we know when we get off, we know when we're going to eat and when we're going to go to bed. This schedule, the predictability of our schedule helps us have this peace of mind and gives us some firm foundation to stand on. But Jesus didn't give them any details. However, Jesus did say that he was going to be able to give them something that would bring some stability. And so in our time of normal, or when our normal is being changed, like the disciples, we need to remember Jesus' words to the disciples. He didn't give them all of the details. Rather, he said this, I have said these things to you so that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation. That word tribulation just means pressure, persecution, a lot of resistance. This happened on a regular basis for them from this time forward. Things were always changing. But he said this, but take heart, have courage. I have overcome the world. It's funny because the disciples, they didn't do this. They didn't have courage. They ran. Why? Because details were left out. They didn't have details. Here Jesus is being arrested. In their mind, it looked like everything that Jesus had said wasn't going to happen. He's being arrested. And if he's being arrested, then maybe everything he said isn't going to happen. As their mind got in the details, they were forced with a new normal, which didn't have any stability. With that, they were kind of like us walking on that ice, right? Right when you think that you have a stable footing, you put your foot down and then you slip. It's like your mind just is scattered of any idea of what you previously went through, any good advice you've ever heard on how to walk on ice. All of those things, they leave your mind. And I can only imagine this is what probably happened in the disciples as they saw Jesus' captors coming to take him. And here he is being captive, and all rational thought just left, and the only thing they could think to do is run. However, if they would have been arrested, that could have transformed into something completely different. And that didn't happen. What they did is they scattered. They all went back to their own home. However, this wasn't the first time Jesus had left them. This is actually the second time. And when we look at the second time that this happened, or the first time is in the garden, the second time is upon his ascension. The first time they scattered, but something changed this second time. We read in Acts 1, 4 through 8. And while staying with them, he ordered them not to depart from Jerusalem, but to wait for the promise of the Father, which he said, you heard from me. For John baptized with water, but you will be baptized with the Holy Spirit not many days from now. So when they had come together, they asked him, Lord, will you at this time restore the kingdom of Israel? He said to them, it is not for you to know the times or seasons that the Father has fixed by his own authority. But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and all Judea and Samaria and to the end of the earth. The disciples, again, are looking for details. At this time, Jesus, are you going to restore the kingdom of Israel? See, all the prophecies of the Old Testament about the one that was to come, it looked like because he would be king, because he would be of the lineage of David, he would do exactly what David did. He would take down Israel's giants. He would bring Israel together under the unity of serving God. And again, they would become a leading force on earth, a display of God's splendor, of his glory. But Jesus wasn't going to be a political king. No, it was an eternal king, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And so it was different, but they need these details. What time? What are you going to do? What season? Isn't details what we're looking for right now? Looking for solutions, looking for answers. And when is it going to happen? When's it going to be over? When's this date going to happen? But again, Jesus didn't leave them with details because obviously Jesus knew that peace was not found in the details that can be changed. Peace was found in him, was found in his commands, was found in his words. And so we see the disciples, they realize this time they're not going to follow the same pattern as they did last time and allow the details to scatter them. This time with the resurrected Jesus, He must be what he said he would be. He must do what, or gonna do what he said he would do. He said he would die or be gone down in 3 days, but rise again. Here he is, the risen Christ. We have got to trust what he says. And that's what they do in Acts 1:12 through 14. It says, then they returned to Jerusalem from the mount called Olivet, which is near Jerusalem, a Sabbath day's journey away. And when they had entered, they went up to the upper room where they were staying. Peter and John, and James and Andrew, Philip and Thomas, Bartholomew and Matthew, James the son of Alphaeus, and Simon the Zealot, and Judas the son of James. All of these, with one accord, were devoting themselves to prayer, together with the women and Mary, the mother of Jesus, and his brothers. See, this time, they realized, Jesus, we're going to have to trust Jesus. And this is what we find out, that Jesus' words provide stability. We live in a time where things aren't stable. Things are always changing. And if things are always changing and details are always changing, where do we find stability? We find it with Jesus' words. Now, here is what's interesting about the gathering that took place among the group. It's different personalities, perspectives, and differences. And when you read about this group, we just read a list of names that are up there together. And in reading those names, we can go to the Gospels and find out who some of these people are. Not just thinking about the differences of who's up there. You have James and John. I still remember the reading when their mom came to Jesus and said, hey, let my sons sit at your right hand and your left hand. Promote them to be the best. I always think about what the disciples must have said behind their back. They're like, man, is their mom going to show up? They're the friend that the mom always shows up at the inconvenient time and embarrasses everybody. Then you have Peter, who is supposed to be a rock but denies Jesus 3 times. You have these different personalities. The brothers of Jesus are there. They're people that question Jesus' authority and even who Jesus was as the Son of God. They were ones that didn't believe in the beginning. They were just brothers who doubted him. You have all these different vocations, different backgrounds, different personalities, but something happened in this room. They were all together. They put their trust in what Jesus said. They decided to rally around and find stability, not in details, not in schedules, not in personalities, not in normal, but in Jesus. Now, when we think about this group as they were gathering and when they were together, I think about what also must have been happening outside the 4 walls of this upper room. We have the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire was taking over the majority of the known world at that time because of their military campaigns. And one of the things that they did by not just crucifying Jesus, but taking him through the process, the entire process of the crucifixion, we see that what they were doing is they were showing people their genius, they were showing people their might, and now news is coming about that this Jesus isn't dead anymore. The news that Jesus is not in this grave that they allowed him to be buried. Think about the Jews and what they're searching for and what they're looking for. Like, wait, hold on. He says Jesus showed and appeared himself for 40 days. The rumor mill is going on, and now all these people. Think about everything that should have been going on in that upper room. You got 2 people in the corner, James and John. I don't know what Peter's doing. What's he doing? Why does he think we should be staying here? Shouldn't we get our knives? Shouldn't we be ready for war? Think about the women. What's going to happen? And there should have been all of this commotion. There should have been all of this question on the details that should have separated them. But Luke does something completely different this time. Luke uses a word in this passage that he didn't use in his gospel. He uses here in Acts, and he will use throughout Acts. He uses this word, one accord. This word, they were in one accord, and it simply just means that they were harmony of mind or action, as the International Standard Bible Dictionary states. They realized that something was different this time. We can't put our hope in the details. We can't put our hope in times and seasons and on what's happening. We have got to find our peace. We've got to find our stability in what Jesus said. Last time, man, we all freaked out and we were all scattered. This time, Jesus, man, he raised from the dead. We got to trust him. He's obviously got power. He's obviously got knowledge that we don't have. And that's what we find. These people had been together before, right? They've prayed together before, except for Peter, James, and John fell asleep. They had been together before with Jesus when he was praying for the sick. And in the back, they're questioning why Jesus is doing and what he's doing and why he's doing it. Upon him giving different messages to different people, you find the disciples together, but they're not together. They're arguing. They're trying to figure out what Jesus meant. So this word, one accord, it changes everything. They weren't just together in one room. They had harmony. They had peace. When outside the four walls, there was chaos. When outside the four walls of the upper room, things were falling apart. We find in this upper room, they had one accord. They had peace. They had unity. They were together. Their hearts united. How could they be together? How could they have unity when everything's falling apart? It's because Jesus' words. And we say it like this, that Jesus' words bring peace. Jesus' words bring peace. What Jesus told them, that's what brought peace in that upper room. That's what brought this harmony. That's what brought this togetherness, not just in location, but in their hearts and in their minds. Jesus, his words bring peace. And Jesus' words doesn't just bring peace to people that we read about in the New Testament. Jesus' words bring peace to us. One of the ways that I believe Jesus' words can bring peace to us in this situation right now when we're surrounded with details and we're getting online and getting different reports from different people and doing our own research, trying to figure out what other country is doing what and how it's affecting people. Am I going to be infected? You know, what's going to happen? All these details. No, in that moment, man, we need to go to Jesus' words and find peace. And Jesus gives us this insight on, I believe, how we can have peace in a time where it's unstable. We can have some stability. And that's in Matthew 6:6-8. Jesus said, "But when you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret. And your Father sees in secret will reward you. And when you pray, do not heap up empty phrases as the Gentiles do, for they think that they will be heard for their many words. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask of him." Here when Jesus is giving this statement and he's giving this understanding, he's been talking about prayer and been talking about some different things that the Pharisees and the Sadducees had told these people. They had given them words that were not right. And so Jesus is bringing clarity to even prayer. And he makes a statement, right? Shut the door. The idea is the Pharisees and the Sadducees would pray in front of people, and because of their knowledge and their education, they could pray the right scripture. They could speak the perfect Hebrew and they could say the right things. But then Jesus doesn't just focus on them. He focuses on the Gentiles. He says, "And when you pray, do not heap up empty phrases." See, the Gentiles were people that weren't Jews. Jews believed in the one central God, one God, possessor and creator of heaven and earth. But the Gentiles, they believed in multiple gods. And you and I know that these are not gods at all. They're made up. They're empty. They have no power. And so their prayers were not given to them by the gods. They had to create their own words. They created their own rituals. They would create these things and they were teaching people. And so they had certain things that they did at certain times. And Jesus is saying, listen, don't just try to come up with words to say and try to get God to do these details that you think. No. Your Father knows you and he knows what you need. Here's what you need to do. You need to close the door and go to your room, go to a secret place. And I love that picture because isn't that what we need to do? And we just need to close the door on all the things that are going on, all of the news. We need to put our cell phones away, put our computer away for a time and just close the door and pray. Talk to God. He knows what you need. He knows your financial situation. He knows your mental situation. He knows your heart condition. He knows your family condition. And you don't have to think that he doesn't know. That's why your words don't have to be empty. You can go to God because you know he cares for you and you know that Jesus' words are true. shut the door. I encourage you, maybe you got family, just whether early in the morning, late at night, just take a time to shut the door on all the noise. Shut the door on all the things that are going on. And like the disciples in the upper room, they were in prayer. They were focused on God, focused on Him. And when we're doing that, another way is in the encouragement that we can find peace. And Jesus' words is what the writer of Hebrews told us in Hebrews 12, 1 through 3. It says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and the sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before Him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider Him who endured from sinners such hostility against Himself, so that you may not grow weary or faint-hearted." I don't know about you, but I'm encouraged. There's some things that we're enduring through pressure. Like Jesus said, in this world you'll have tribulation, you'll have pressure and persecutions and just the weights of the world that try to come upon us. And how do we get through it? How do we have courage to walk through it and go through this season? The author of Hebrews says that we consider Jesus. Now, what was going on with these people that the writer of Hebrews is writing to? Many of them have lost their homes, they've lost jobs, they've lost family members. They're being persecuted on every side. You know, in history we find that different people that ruled over Rome, you might have one ruler that would give freedom to Christians and even Jews, and then you'd have one that would kill them. And life was always changing. They were always forced with a new normal. But the writer of Hebrews encourages them, here's how you can get through it. Think about Jesus. And when I think about Jesus, not just who He was on earth, not just what He did, but what was Jesus a result of? Jesus was a result of the Father taking care of you and me. When we look at Jesus walking this earth, He was fulfilling prophecies and promises that God had given to His people and to you and me hundreds of years prior to Jesus ever arriving. When I think about Jesus, I think about God getting involved in the details of humanity and working out His good plan, even in the middle of situations that shouldn't have worked out. The writer here says that when we think about Jesus and what He endured the cross. But what does it say? He despised it. He didn't just go to the cross. He despised the cross by God raising Him from the dead. He wasn't only raised from the dead, but the writer says He is seated at the right hand. He finished the work. He sat down next to the Father, completing the Father's will. I think this is what the disciples did in that upper room. They began to think about who they saw. They saw the risen Christ. And if God could raise Him from the dead, and God was able to do through Jesus everything that He promised, Jesus was the firstborn, it says, raised from the dead, meaning He was the first, giving us an idea of what we can look to, that God too, He will strengthen us. He will perform His word in our lives and our situations. And rather than the chaos of the unanswered questions and the details of life that we're trying to figure out in our mind, when we stop, we shut the door, we go away and we consider and we think about Jesus, there's peace, there's hope, there's faith that God will take care of us. We are going to get through this. We're going to get through it together because we're not alone. Together as we focus on Jesus, together as we think about Jesus, we're going to find hope arise. We're going to find peace. And though we are distant in space, we don't have to be distant in heart. We together right now, we can just focus on Jesus. I don't know where you're at. And I don't know where you're watching from. You might be watching from somewhere in another state, maybe even another country. And you found yourself watching this right now. I just want to tell you something, that Jesus loves you. Jesus is a sign of God's love for you. The Bible says in John 3:16, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, and that whoever believes in him will not perish, but have everlasting life." Romans 10:9 and 10 tells us that if you believe in your heart that God raised Jesus from the dead, and that you confess it with your mouth, you will be saved. You will receive this life, this peace that God brings to our heart, that even though there's chaos on the outside, in our heart we can know that we are with God and God is with us and we are good with God. So this morning or this evening, this afternoon, wherever time it is that you're watching this and wherever you're watching from, I want to right now just invite you to accept the free gift of Jesus. It's just a gift, and as a gift, you accept it. The Bible tells us about confessing with our mouth. And so right now, maybe you've never received that gift of salvation. You've never received Jesus. You've never received God's gift to you to show you his love and his peace. Right now, wherever you're at, you can just say, "Jesus, I believe, and I receive your gift right now in Jesus' name." It's just that simple. If you prayed that, we would love to connect with you. We'd love for you to email us at info@fhtulsa.com, and we would love to connect with you and help you on your journey of understanding more about what this gift is and what it does for our life, and we can have peace even in times like that we're living in now. But maybe you have received Jesus and you're watching this. Maybe you're just going through a time, and I want to pray for you right now and pray for our Father's House community that's spread around the city right now. Father, right now we thank you for your great love and your mercy. God, we thank you for Jesus. We thank you that when we look at what Jesus accomplished, he was accomplishing your will for us, that you loved us to show us who we are, to show us that we are loved and that we can have peace. And just as Jesus promised, he said, "I have told you these things so that in me you could have peace." God, help us right now to get our focus off the details of life, off the questions, off the unknowns, and help our hearts right now to be focused on Jesus. We thank you so much. In Jesus' name.
We hope that you got something really inspiring from today's message, that we can find stability and peace in Jesus' words, and that this can carry out with you throughout the rest of your week. We want to also provide an opportunity right now to give. We have multiple ways that you can give through Father's House. You can give online through fhtulsa.com, through our app, or by mailing it into the church. We're just going to pray over our giving right now, that this would bless and honor God. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to honor you through our giving. We ask that this would be for the spread of your good news and that it would help bring clarity of peace to somebody else's life. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. We also want to hear from you. So we ask that you would email us if you can, or follow us or DM us on social media, as well as like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. We love you. Have a great day.